So in the last session, what we did was we deployed our application using Helm chart into the EKS cluster, and we were able to access our application. So it is the next continuation part. Okay, in that, as part of observability, right? So we should be able to if we should be able to see the logs. Okay, so if any issues happens inside our application, right? So it should be able to alert it, okay, as well as if there are any errors, right? So we should be able to debug it. Okay, so we call in our IT industry, we call it as a part of a observability. So alerting and as well as checking and making sure that our logging is happening properly. Okay, so there are two types of are there. Two types of multiple applications are there in order to store our logs as well as uh, our application related error messages and all, right? So multiple applications are there. For example, Splunk is the paid one. Okay, so as well as in Azure, we have a Azure monitor. Um, the ELK stack is the popular one, which is open source and which is freely available, right? So that is the reason, because of a cost constraint, right? For a Splunk or Dynatrace or Azure Monitor, you need to pay good amount of money. As well as over there are many features are there, but think that many companies doesn't have that much of budget, right? In that case, people will tend to go for a open source, which is readily available, right? So there comes up our ELK stack. So when we say ELK stack, right? So it consists of these four components. Okay. This is a website of Elastic. So if you type Elastic search, right? The first link, whatever we get, right? So that is what our Elastic search platform. Okay. So what you could in this one, this ELK stack consists of four components. Okay, so the E in the Elasticsearch, E stand for a Elasticsearch. Okay, which is basically a in-memory cache. Okay, so in-memory database. You can think of it as a database itself. So where all the logs, whatever we create, our application creates, right? In this particular Elasticsearch, in-memory database. Uh, in this particular bit, everything, all the logs get stored. So E stand for a Elasticsearch. L stand for a log stash. Okay, so log stash is a configuration. It is kind of our any postal services, or you can think of it as a courier company. Okay, for that we need to mention which parcel it has to take and where exactly it has to be transported, right? So in this example, so we need to mention which application log. Our logs will be in, say, in the opt/logs folder, right? Inside that one, any application, right? It's just an example, hypothetical example. Okay. So in this particular example, in this particular location, so our logs resides. Think that our logs resides in a opt/logs folder. Okay. So log stash, what we will mention is this is our configuration. Okay. This is our place where logs present, and this is the destination it has to send it. Okay, it is kind of a courier company from where it has to be picked it up, the logs, and where exactly it has to be pushed or delivered, right? So in this case, our input becomes our where exactly our logs folder files present. Okay, log stash is a configuration where you mention input is our file path. Output is basically elastic it's our database, right? Where in the database that logs has to be pushed in. Okay, input is for what logstash works is picks up the logs and pushes it to a Elasticsearch database. That is a L. K is a Kibana. So Kibana is a front end. So you will get a errors in your application, right? So that errors, you need to read it out. Okay, there can be a null pointer exception, there can be out of memory exception, right? 1 second. there can be a different types of exceptions. We'll get it, right? Uh, those kind of errors, we should be able to search it. Think that error has came 1 year back, not 1 year back, say 1 month back, right? So you need to uh, fi find put a filter condition saying that 1 year back what it was there and what is the criteria, the message contains which data, right? So that search query you need to put it. So those all the things you can do it in a UI, okay, graphical user interface. Okay, so in that one you try to put the data. Okay, so that the Kibana of the front end website, what it will give you is a complete picture of it, complete error. It will filter it out and show it to you. Okay, so this is the one we try to use in our Kubernetes or in in any of the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so now let us crack it up on. Okay, so let us try to install it on our Docker on Docker. Okay, so as on a Docker, how exactly you can install it? You can practice it out, and then next probably in tomorrow's session we will try to integrate with the pod and as well as our application so that the logs is visible inside our ELK stack. So in today's session we will go through the installation of it, how exactly you can search it, how exactly you can push the data. Okay, so for this, just type ELK stack. Okay, ELK stack Docker. So Docker compo. The first one, if you copy that and click on that, so if you could see, it clearly says how exactly it has to be installed, a step-by-step message methods. Okay, this is what we will be going through it now. So for the time, in order to reduce our time, so I have already cloned that particular repo, but I'll clone again. Problem. Today date is the 24th. I'll create a 4th. Let us go and clone it out. This is our repo. And another thing, even in Docker Compose repo, application exists. If you wanted to refer that repo, click on code here, click on here, then terminal. Okay, make sure that your Docker has been running. Okay, in my case Docker desktop is up and running. So I will say um, files I have not yet cloned it yet. Okay, I've cloned the repo now. Okay, I've inside this repo, try to execute terminal. The form. I'm inside the my folder. Okay, now we'll say if you see ls30a, able to repo. If you could see, we have a Kibana logstash, and Elasticsearch folder. So here we have a Docker Compose. Okay. For those guys who doesn't know about Docker Compose, a Docker Compose is a set of configurations. Okay, in order to bring up ELK stack, right? I need to install these three applications: Kibana, Elasticsearch, and as well as Logstash. Okay, so in order to run three different containers one by one, okay, it will take more time for us, right? So rather than that one, this ELK stack is uh, work. And it is a one package. Okay, so that is the reason instead of running it one by one, we prefer combining it in a one package. okay, and running it as a one package. So Docker Compose helps us in order to combine these three applications into a one single compose file. Okay, so see here, this is our compose file. The first bit, if you see, Elasticsearch. Okay, the second one is a Logstash. The third one is a Kibana. So all these three applications, we are running it in under one Docker compose. That is the reason we have to run it either one by one parallelly or club it in under a one Docker compose file. Okay. Now, in order to run this further up, okay. So next command, once we have downloaded it, what we need to do a setup. So what does the setup does is basically it has to set up uh, few of the our configuration, the passwords and all. That is what it will be doing. So now let us run it. Docker compose up setup. So it really takes a couple of minutes, okay, because it has to download it. Depending on your internet speed, it takes several. It takes a couple of minutes. Yeah, it exited. So if you see, I have not set up default use password. It has picked it up, the default one. Okay. So once the setup has been done, right? What you could do is we need to say Docker compose up. Okay. So this Docker compose up, what it does is run this, but uh, it downloads all the files required or all the images required for our ELK stack to be up and running, and then it starts our all the container. So now let us do it. So if you wanted to run it in the background, you will append -t. Just see time it takes. Okay, so it is running it in the background. So the ELK stack, it took very less second here. If you see all the application, it has been up and running. Usually the first time, right, it may take a few minutes because this image has to be downloaded. In my case, it was already, I have tested it earlier. So that is the reason it was quick for us. Okay. Click on images, right? All this Kibana setup as well as the Elastic is all this thing has to be downloaded first. Okay. 1 second, I'll drink little bit water. So you could see here Docker ELK. As part of that, Elasticsearch is running. Setup has completed its work, so that is it is exited. Don't require anymore. Okay, next one is Kibana, which is also running. Logstash is also running. 3 containers. You ask me how many containers are running? 3 containers. I have all these application it is. So Kibana is a front end. So if you see our application front end application up and running. How exactly you can test it out? The name is Elastic. Password is overwrite it. Then it wanted to override the password, right? Be able to update. Wanted to update it, right? There are few configurations are there. If you want to change the password and all, if you run this commands, you will be able to change the password. right? So there, the details and all those things has been given. You can configure it, you can change it. So if you set the environment variable, automatically it will pick it up. Last command, right? It ignored it because no password skipped it. To set up a proper password, you can do that even while running a pipeline, right? So what you could you can default, and then thereafter you can read it in from default and run this, can do that. Now back to just ELK stack. If you see, these are all the, this is our Kibana front end. Our run by 601. Okay, that is here. It is not over the internet. Docker. So here the brand new there. Try to check it out. How exactly the logs has to be. There are no result is present of the data. For that, as a test example, right? Okay, hello, we stand for a netcat. Okay, localhost 3000 logstash. Okay, if you remember, for logstash, configure or logstash is the one which picks the data. Elasticsearch. That is what we are saying. The data to logstash. Let us go PA. Data has been picked up by the logstash. Now Elasticsearch. If I do a data is there, right? Welcome. All the data, the timestamp, when exactly it was pushed, what exactly the type is there, what the message is meant for data. Timestamp, if you 1218, data was one record. All the dated in value, it has been turned into column. Stage own stage was hell. That is what it is visible. The welcome is. Let us put some random data now. Data. Whatever it was there, right? Printed now. The README file, right? So readme file, what was the data here? All the data it was there, right? All this data has been for elastics, as data. So let us go and pick this log stash. So log stash, let's find it out. Log stash. If I enter that, it will highlight everything. Wherever in log file, log stash is present, it print it out. The message, right? Sorry. Yeah, it's a complete details if you everything. The filter condition, update, all this data it has been. Now think that the ongoing. Okay, so whatever the data it has been, we are feeding it, that it is pumping into the log stash. Yes, if the log stash, I'm feeding it to log stash. Particular data, the log stash, and then log stash will get the Elasticsearch. Kibana, what it does is, our front end, it is connected to Elasticsearch. Whatever the condition, the front end, that is basically our this front end, okay, whatever we enter it, it interacts with the database based on the search criteria. Whatever you give it, will display it over here. Okay, think that you create a dashboard out of it. Why these dashboards are required is at one point, if you have a few of the configuration, right? So there are frequent errors are coming in your case. Okay, so that to it you want to create a monitoring, a dashboard for you. Set the spike log stash when it has occurred. Log stash. So click here, right? Log stash. You can clearly see my when exactly it has occurred. I'll pump it again. Just now I pumped. Spike it has came up, right? Here, if you could click on the today's date, was all the data when exactly it has occurred. So now it was, that is the first and last. If I say last 30 minutes gap, it's 5 minutes gap. Every minute it, here one spike was there, another spike over here. The benefit of using the dashboard, at one point in time, you can clearly see how long dashboard it was, in all, what all the error it has came. So in our day-to-day life, right? So I think that there is a of there is a production issue comes up, right? It's bit difficult for L1 or L2 or operation team guys, in order to find out how many errors it has came. Okay, they can't go each pod or each of application and check it out whether the error is coming or not, right? We usually have a SLAs. We have to be quick enough to identify the issue and sort it out then and there. In order to sort out the issue, we should be knowing about where exactly is the issue, right? For that purpose, observability will come into the picture. Okay, so we set up all these tools which will benefit us to identify or narrow down saying that where exactly the issue is there. Okay, so for the sake of it, what I will do is let me try to get one error log. So if you could see here, 220, it was first pushed in. The next one was 233. Okay, so whenever if any kind of error we face it, right? So that those are the things you should be able to get it in a dashboard itself. So whenever we sometimes what will happen is in our case what the logs messages, right? It piles up. So probably 1 month back something has happened, right? So you wanted to analyze it, what it has happened and all. So in those cases, what we do is we create our dashboards. According to that, we try to analyze it. Okay, the dashboard is mainly for think that any production issue comes up. Okay, so you wanted to go quickly and check it out why exactly it has happened. In order to check it out within a fraction of a second, okay, you can find it out. So if you drill it down, that also you can do it. Okay, uh, yeah. So major of the cases we will try to use like this itself. Okay, so now think that this is on a Docker we are running it. Okay, so if we wanted to run the similar bit on a Kubernetes cluster, okay, how exactly you do that? Okay, ELK stack running on a Helm chart. Okay, so just say kubectl apply TRLDs are installed. Okay, 1 second. It gave me error. No matches present for this custom resource. So looks like it is a bit older. We'll see. It's a 3 years ago. Let us try to get a new one. Let us uninstall this. Okay. ELK on Minikube. Okay. Yeah, this looks fine, right? It is installed on using Helm. Okay, so that should be fine. Yeah, so let me try to find it out. We have this. Helm repo list. Yeah, so if you could see, our repo has been added. Okay, so let us try to our values file is present. Okay, so what we will do is we'll create a values file. If you wanted to override, right, that you can do that. So, but let us go with the same one, the default one. Say vi values dot iml. This is the default details that you can override it. So if you are interested to change it, you can change it. Okay, as of now we will use the same thing. Yeah, looks like there is some network issues there. So Let me do one thing. Probably I will stop it now because many guys are telling that there is some network issue. As of now, I'll stop this. Probably if you have any questions, we'll get into call. Probably I'll sort it out the network related issue and then I'll come back on tomorrow at the same time. Okay. So I'll send a link now. Okay. So for I don't know why what has happened. Let me put it in a chat. We'll see. There are some glitches in audio. Just lagging. Okay. Probably I'll check it out. Let us connect it tomorrow then. It doesn't make any sense to continue. Okay. I'll stop the sessions for today. Okay. Uh, if you wanted to join, you can join the chat. Yeah. Google Meet. I've pinged it over here. Let us use that.